works.
I don't hear you. Is it?
Welcome
Okay.
to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Emily, and I think
There
Joe's
we go.
headphones got unplugged. Oh, is it a cat?
No, the headphone actually like pulled out of the socket. That was me. That was me.
Just blame the cat. Take the W.
Yep. It was the cat. Damn you, Figaro.
I saw a video today of this guy. He was golfing somewhere, like kind of a community course, and there was a cat just laying on top
Mhm.
of the hole. So he
Yeah.
kind of chips it toward the cat, and the cat does what cats do and just pounces. And he still made
Yeah.
par. He wanted everyone to know he still made par, but it was pretty cute.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh yeah. They're like, oh, I think he's gonna. I think the cat's gonna knock it in, man. I think it's gonna. No,
No.
no,
He was like, get that shit out of here.
no. My hole, my hole.
Yeah, it's mine.
I live at the 7th. All right. So last week we talked about bad advice that people get in the music business or just playing music, and we had so much bad
Yes, we
advice
did.
that people are keeping us going for a second week straight. But I do want to say, like when on the TikTok that I did this,
Yeah.
one guy said, "This isn't bad advice, but this is good advice," and then gave some unsolicited advice. I'm like, you really missed the assignment, man.
Hold on, it's like that gif of like the joke that goes over and the guy's looking overhead like, where did it go?
Yeah, maybe I'll do a separate post about what's good advice, and you can comment, and then I can decide if it's good or bad.
Exactly.
All right, so I know you are the keeper of the list, so
Yes, I am. I am the keeper of the list, and we have 5 remaining. Uh Things that are bad advice. Plugins instead of effects pedals.
I don't think that's like intrinsically bad, but
No.
if you're either way, you're like, oh, you can do everything you want to do with plugins, which I know from Russ from Emily and Russ, he gets
Yes, they
that a
get that
lot.
a lot.
They both hate it. I think Russ
Yes.
especially hates it. I mean, plugins have their place,
Yeah.
especially in studio stuff, obviously. But
Oh yeah.
it used to be, the plugins were physical plug things
Yeah.
that you plugged into racks, and
Yep.
yeah, so it's kind of it. I mean, it's now they're just digital.
Yeah, I mean, they each have their own place, to be honest, and I don't think I think they're both valid, and like one doesn't. And just again, I think I said it last time. And it's like if someone's doing something, they find joy in doing it, and they're doing it with effects pedals, and that's the way they like to. They're like, oh yeah, stop doing that, and you should be doing it with this instead. I was like, that's still bad advice to me, because I mean, if they want to
Yeah.
explore it, fine, that's great. But for me, like I already come from kind of like a profession where I'm staring at the computer so much already, and
Yes.
I really want to be having something more organic, like my hands on as opposed to click click. I mean, yeah, it's just more of that then for me, going through loads of presets, like into DAWs. Like I'm deep diving in a DAW and getting lost in that. That's the reason why I don't really necessarily go too far into plugins, because I
Hmm.
feel like it's too much of a jungle to navigate, and I may lose, I guess, creative kind of like, yeah, losing the creativity in it, getting lost in all the preset controls.
Yeah, I mean, when I record, the bulk of the plugins that I use are kind of mixing style plugins,
Hmm.
compression,
Oh
limiters,
yeah.
EQ, because it's so nice. Like, even if you're using Easy Drummer, you probably want to have to have to put some compression on
Yeah.
those drums. I don't really know jack about mixing or mastering drums, so it's really nice for me to have that option, to have that preset.
No, of course. And if
Yeah.
you want to add, if you're doing like drums like Easy Drummer, or you're doing it in Logic, yeah, you're going to probably add compression on it. Or if you want to add like a little bit of room to it, a little bit of light reverb, so it sounds like they're somewhat, I guess, close to real drums as you can get. Or you're like doubling the track so that you have a dry track uncompressed and a track that is. I mean, it all
Yeah.
again, you're more time in mixing and making those decisions.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things where the correct advice lies somewhere in the middle, which
Yeah.
is whatever it takes for you to get the sound that you want.
Mhm.
That's those are tools for you to use.
Of course.
I think that there are just great uses for plugins, and then there are fantastic plugins out there, especially the instrument plugins that use samples. Like Easy Drummer, I think is fantastic. The Benson Mixwave app, the Mixwave Chimera plugin for I I use that all the time now. I used to
Yeah,
use
and
my
I was about to
Iridium.
mention that
Yeah.
you use that, and not only do you talk so, obviously enthusiastic about it, but I've heard other people recently, just in Discords and stuff like that, really love the Benson and plugin and
Yeah.
how great it is. So, I mean, eventually, probably I'll hop on that too.
Yeah, it's like 180 bucks and it's
It's
totally worth every penny. I mean, what's great for me is I used to use the Iridium when I needed to do silent recording, which is
mm,
often. Again, I live in a townhouse and I record a lot of things in the middle of the day. Um,
yeah,
But if I, like, decided, like, I really don't like the EQ on that, or I really don't like the settings, I can't just go back. I can't just go back, but if I'm, like, with the Benson plugin, I'd be like, I kinda set the gain a little high on the amp. Let me
do
dial
it
that
after in
back."
post. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's one of the best things about plugins for me,
yeah,
is if you think that you might wanna fiddle with it later,
hmm
you can you haven't written it in ink. You have an eraser.
yeah.
Yeah,
I actually think is the good side of it. I mean, again, there's pros and cons and everything. And
yeah,
yeah, the fact that in post you have a little bit more control if you were to use something, yeah, like a Benson or any kind of amp sim or something in after in post and recording it in. Yeah, I've had those times where I've recorded something in and something's been a little off, even though it was a good take. It was just something in the mix that didn't exactly sound right, and I'm just like,
yeah,
"Oh, I have to record that all again on a different
yeah,
day, and it may not even sound the same." So, yeah,
yeah,
I totally
and
understand.
I do that. I did that for a demo I filmed yesterday.
Mhm.
Like, I was like, "Oh, I should have made the amp cleaner if I'm using
Mm.
this pedal with it," and all I had to do was make it cleaner. And if I recorded it too loud, because 'cause I've had that moment of panic where I'm like, "Oh my god, I clipped while recording, remembered I was using the
Yes.
Mixwave app, and like, oh, let me just dial back that output." The clipping goes away. It didn't exist. It wasn't real. Like,
I've
oh,
had that recently.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I've had that
scary.
yeah, that's the thing, like, I have had situations where I hear clipping in my headset, but then, like, I'll stop it and I'll play it back and I don't hear it at all, and I was like, "Oh, it's probably slamming the unit itself, but it's actually not in Logic." So
Yeah.
I've kind of coasted those lines of like, "Is it really? Is it really not?" Well,
Mhm.
I'm still in the green here, so probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had 1 or 2 demos where
Hmm.
I clipped and had to release, and I just kind of acknowledged that there was clipping. But,
Yeah.
um, that's why, yeah, I tend to record things quieter. Again, completely quiet. And even with the Iridium, it was rare that there would be clipping. Most of the clipping occurs when, like, I can't fix it later. It's because it's, actually this large
Yeah.
man right here.
Yes.
One of these 2 distinguished
One of these
gentlemen.
two beauties.
Yes. Oh, I reorganized my room a little bit. I don't know if you noticed, the guitars are over here now,
Yeah,
and
hold
then
on.
I
Now you
have
just pointed it out, and I'm looking around, and I was like, "Wait, yeah, I remember some of that stuff being in different
mhm.
locations." Is it better, I guess, as far as for you to navigate in the space while recording a demo, or?
Well, these 2 amps had been in the hallway, which was a problem. So my little space I record in, it's like
Mhm.
8 by 10, maybe 8
Yeah,
by, like,
I
12
have a
feet.
small space too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had stuffed a love seat in here that my husband and I had since we had our studio loft apartment. The love seat was the only semblance of a sofa that would fit in the space. And it was nice quality and it still had a lot
Hmm,
of life left in it, so we kept it for a while. I would take naps on it.
nice.
But as I started doing this and started getting kind of more things, uh, I've ordered like a wing back chair so I can still have a place to sit and lounge and maybe take a sitting up nap if I really want to. But again, I'm
Okay.
like my bed is just a walk upstairs, so
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
not
know.
that far. Yeah, mine's the other room right
No.
there.
No, so, I moved the pedal steel over there, which
Mhm.
had been over here. These 2 amps had been in the hallway. these guitars had been
On
right
that side,
there.
yeah, right underneath.
Yeah, so I just freed up a little bit more space.
No, it makes sense.
And yeah, now we have a better pathway to like walk outside because I'm on the there's a door uh that we've just not been able to use.
Oh. Yeah,
It's
that one's
okay.
off limits. Yeah, we see a door, but we don't speak. It is the door that shall not be named.
It's the window the cat sits
There we
in when
go.
I'm working. So, yeah, I did that, and my band booked a little Halloween weekend gig on October 29th.
Awesome.
So it's this is, did I talk about this last week? My
I
band's
don't think
gig.
you did. No.
So it's a big thing in Seattle, and I'm sure a lot of other places. For on Halloween, bands will get together and they'll dress up as
Yes.
another band is and play covers of that band. So my singer suggested, because the only cover we consistently would do live is "Hey Sandy" from The Adventures of Pete and Pete by Polaris,
That's
aka like
awesome.
Miracle
Yeah.
Legion. So she suggested Polaris, and I was like, well, they should bill it as music from The Adventures of Pete and Pete because people will recognize that potentially.
Yeah.
So Rick's playing bass, and
Nice.
we're playing like 4 songs. It's going to be at Jules May in Georgetown on October 29th if you're in the area.
So
Yeah. How about you? I mean, we haven't talked in a day, so I'm
I
sure
know,
lots
I know.
happened.
A lot happens for me in a day here. Another day in paradise.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're pretty much starting to get, as we talked about, there's a hurricane kind of at my doorstep. So yeah, we're starting to get the rain bands today. It is still doing the wibbly wobbly cone of uncertainty before it hits.
Is that the official term?
The cone of uncertainty, yes, that's very much is what it's called. So I had the joke all week of like, yes, my life in many ways, even after the hurricane passes, is still in a cone of uncertainty. Just because they postponed taking my windows out for a week, because obviously hurricane, not so good. Don't do that. And I'm like, I'm glad. I'm glad you came to your senses today on Monday.
What is this hurricane's name? I am not near
Is it
enough to them to
Ian?
know.
I think it's Ian. I think it's Ian. I think
Oh,
this one's name is
Ian.
Ian. I think. I just wanted to. Usually, it's like, where is it? Like, whatever its name. Like, I
Yeah,
just want to know where it is.
you still got a lot of letters to go. This is very early at hurricane season.
Yeah, I think it was what
Yeah.
Fiona. I think was the last one. I think it was.
Yeah. So I know
Might
my
be.
parents got rocked by Hurricane Matthew back in like
Oh, I
2015.
remember Matthew. Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew was a dickhead.
Oh yeah, no, like as far as like okay, you see where these shutters are here in the windows? It
Mhm.
was myself, my uncle, like Carlos and a few of my neighbors literally trying to pull these shutters closed because they broke, and it was Matthew literally barreling down as a category 5 at us, and it was all of us on the roof trying to close it. So since it broke obviously in the action of getting it, it's remained closed. So that's why here's the backstory of the reason why I have shutters in my window.
I've never even thought about it. But
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's the one thing that I hate. Like whenever
Mhm.
I'm filming, I was like, I so hate that I'm next to a window and there's shutters there. Like I wish I had more of
Yeah.
like a back, wall area like some of the other and you do. So it's a little bit more of a horizontal as opposed to a vertical
Right.
room.
A
But
lot of
yeah,
people just record, but there are a lot of people who like their backdrop is a corner.
yeah,
Not usually a corner
exactly.
with a window, but
Yeah, I mean, I got a small little area, teeny bitty little space.
yeah. Honestly, I would do this in a corner if my room was accommodating for it, but there's
Yeah.
only one corner where it could work and it just wouldn't.
You're like, that
So,
would be great, but no.
yeah, that would be fine. The wildest thing about Matthew for
Hmm.
me was that about a year ago to the day Matthew hit Hilton Head, South Carolina, where my parents live and I got married.
Hmm.
So a year prior to the day was my wedding. Like
Oh my god.
if my wedding had happened a
A
year later
year
that same
later?
weekend,
My
it would
god.
have been fucked.
No, totally. You're gonna be like, there goes the bridesmaid. It'd be like Mary
Like,
Poppins. She's
oh,
like taking off with an umbrella.
our wedding cake topper just like
Yeah, exactly. It would be like, the Wicked Witch in the West on like a bike, like going up.
Oh my god. Yeah, so that's my very selfish take on Hurricane Matthew. But yeah, you
Yeah,
got a lot of ways to go.
yeah, so we're pretty much kind of prepping here. We got some sandbags from my mom. They're basically in the lower. We're a little bit higher up, but even in the areas I posted on like the IG, kind of us driving through the streets already, we're starting to get
Mhm.
flooding there. Hopefully, it
Yeah.
doesn't get any worse than that, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, stay
The funny thing
positive,
is,
test negative,
yeah,
prepare for the worst.
yeah, no, of course. And one of the things was I was talking to because I talked to some people on IG and who were else also in Florida, and I think I was talking to was it Swamp Witch Pedals, and he was like, "Yeah, the
Mm.
funny thing that when you think about it, that people say is waiting for a hurricane is like being stalked by a turtle." And I cackled so loud reading that, and I was like, "That makes sense."
Yeah, it does.
Hey, I'll go against the turtle versus like, an earthquake or anything that's like sudden and you can't prepare for. Like I'll prepare for the turtle.
Tornadoes. I grew up
Yeah,
with
that too. Yeah.
tornadoes.
You can't
Like,
prepare. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we had weather radios and just, like, I have nightmares of that
Oh,
sound.
that sucks.
Yeah, 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 it did.
Yeah, it
But,
does.
thankfully, like, we never got hit, but, like, some people in our community definitely were,
Mm,
affected by tornadoes every now and then.
that sucks.
Um, yeah, it does, but you gotta pick your poison. Like, up here, I'm like, "Oh, we're kind of overdue for an earthquake and a volcano explosion,"
Knock
so
on wood right now.
I would, but my desk is made of bamboo, which is not technically wood, it is a woody grass. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's different. It's different. I had to write an article about it, and I wasn't allowed to call it a wood,
Oh no.
because it's
That's
not,
like,
but
yeah, that's getting a little like yeah, that thing right there, you can't call it that anymore, but it looks like it.
yeah, but you can't call it that.
Nope.
Um, so what other bad advice do we have to dismantle
Well,
today?
the other bad advice that we kind of have is treat your band like a business.
I mean,
In some aspects, you
eh,
kind of,
I don't think that's bad advice.
well, maybe taking the joy out of it by making it too much of a business,
It
I guess.
can, but I mean,
Yeah, of
you can have fun at work. You can have fun at businesses, but
course.
I think there's an element of like, what do you want to accomplish
Hmm.
with your music? And maybe it shouldn't be first and foremost a business, but if
Of
you want to
course.
like potentially protect yourself in the event that you have success, then you should more or less treat it at least a little bit like a business. I mean, there are people who play music just to have fun, and there are people who play
Hmm.
music because they want to do this as a career. And if you want to have a career, there are elements of your band and yourself and your own performances that you need to approach with sort of a business mind in a lot of ways. And like it or not, it doesn't do people any good to bitch about the fact that, oh, now bands have to do social media and now bands have to do this. And you have to be good at music, songwriting,
Everything.
recording, editing, merch, taxes, booking,
Everything.
did
Yeah.
I say marketing?
Yeah, I think you
uh,
said that maybe twice.
and the thing is, that's just the facts.
Yeah.
And if you do get really successful, ultimately the band and whoever's the primary person at that band is responsible for the employment of others. Like
Yeah.
you think about like what Britney Spears recently said something about like she feels freed from the just crippling anxiety and pressure of her life being
Hmm.
responsible for other people making a living. And that's true, and part of what I think can be good, other than potential success about treating your band as a business is it makes you I don't know how to say this, like, want to protect people more and protect yourself a little bit more,
Yeah.
because if it's just fun, if it's just a family, there aren't repercussions, when in
No.
reality, there are. If you're an employer, you wanna take care of your employees,
Of
hopefully.
course.
That's not a given. But hopefully you wanna take care of
Of
your
course
employees and your coworkers anyway.
hopefully you care about people besides yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you think about a band, if you think about work and you hate business
Mm,
and you never have any fun with it, then maybe don't have that mindset. But personally, like most places I've worked, especially in the past 7 years, have been I like the people I work with for the most part. Sometimes we get and have disagreements and we work them
mm,
out because it's beneficial for all of us to work it out. If you treat your band as a family, like there are different pressures associated with
of
that.
course.
If you treat your band as a friendship, and because it is, then, if a friendship's not working for you, you just end it. But
Yeah.
that's not really any different from treating it like a business. If a coworker's not working for you, one of you has to leave.
Yeah.
So,
Or you find someone else that better fits the role.
yeah. So ultimately, I just think it depends on what you want to accomplish with your
Hmm.
band. If really all you want to do is have fun, don't treat it like a business. Just
Yeah.
don't be surprised when, like, you can't ultimately make a living and nobody comes to your shows because you can't do marketing.
Yeah. No word out there. No one knows.
Yeah. But, you could always hire other people to do that stuff for you. But
Yeah.
guess what? That's acting like a business.
It is. And that's
Mhm.
again paying for people's time
Mhm.
and their
Yeah, I mean,
expertise and everything. Yeah.
you can do it yourself or you can free up time and
Yeah.
have someone else do it. Because, you gotta value things in life. If you don't, like, value cooking enough, then to make time to do it, then you're probably gonna get a lot of takeout, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have
Like
passion in what you're doing, it's going to reflect and it's going to, well,
mhm. How you spend your money shows what you value in life too, and that's true no matter who you are, what you're doing, or what you're buying. Yeah. What do you think? Are there instances like I guess I don't the thing is, like, for some of these, I don't know what exactly this person's experience was that
hmm.
made them think that was bad advice. Maybe it was like you said, it took the joy out of things.
Maybe. Yeah. Because again, like in my looking at it, that's kind of the potential pitfalls one could
Mhm.
have. I have seen again, I guess it'll bleed into the next one because I've seen as far as like watching how my father does like a tribute band and he's done cover bands and things like that where I live, there's a lot of, I guess, support for cover bands as opposed to
Mhm.
original artists. Like there
Yeah.
really isn't a lot of support. They don't really trust you know, original work very much as far as
Yeah.
like live playing. And also in the way that I guess he conducts things. Yeah, there's the fun part about the show in which you're putting on an act and a performance. But yeah, there still is the business side of it and basically making sure that everyone does their parts. Everyone is basically showing up on time, talking with the people who are involved with multiple venues, what is expected, how are people paid? Like, how is the advertising? How are they marketing this? Is someone
Mhm.
filming to obviously post later? Like, there are a lot of things that are going on at the same time. So it's a lot to juggle. And it's sometimes when things start to go wrong or when you have either guitar players or people that are starting to give you problems, then that can kind of buckle the process of everything that you have worked hard for and built up all of
Yeah.
this show towards. And yeah, that can cause a lot of stress because everything is riding on this performance that you are putting out together as a team. And then you have
Mhm.
to think about, okay, I got to replace this person in the time frame before the show. Like, who am I replacing with this? We're already booked. Like, yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of stressors in the business side of it because once you're locked into a venue, it's basically kind of like backing out is very bad
It's
and then your
very bad.
reputation like it yeah it's yeah that's how things can be really stressful I think and yeah it is a business if you start to have situations where management starts to either lax or you have problems with players within yeah then it can pretty much suck the joy out of it and be a huge stressor and then of course reputation damage and how do you
Yeah.
rebound from that you know what I mean so yeah it's a lot.
I really like what you said about expectations because I think that's so important, and it's something that we don't think about a lot
Mhm.
until, like, someone has dropped those expectations. I
Yeah.
think that maybe saying it's like a business it just is a big turnoff for people. But the truth
Hmm.
is, when you have a job, when you have a business, you have responsibilities that you acknowledge. should not be dropped. And if you do drop them, you know that there's going to be some sort of repercussion from
Yeah,
it.
there's
Maybe not
dominoes.
a big
Yeah.
one. Maybe not. Maybe it's just a sit down and have a conversation. Like, hey, how can we make sure together that this doesn't happen again? Do you need more support in this way? Do you need more support
Yeah.
in that way? I wouldn't get that from family. I probably wouldn't get that from friends. Like, what happened with you?
Yeah.
But when you keep dropping the ball, you are going to lose opportunities in the future because you can't be relied on. It's like last week we
No.
talked about like you could be the best player in the city, but if
Yeah.
you're an asshole, nobody's going to want to work with you.
No.
If
If you're
you
not
were,
reliable either. Yeah.
yeah, we mean we had good friends who we would invite to play shows with us,
Hmm.
and they would cancel at the last minute. And after that happened twice, we kind of looked at each other and were like, we're not inviting this person anymore
Yeah.
because twice they put us in a bind in a row.
Of
Like,
course.
shame on me, shame on you, blah blah blah. However that saying goes, I'll George Bushify it.
Yeah, exactly. Shame on me once, fooled me. Shame on me twice. Was it?
No,
Yeah.
twice.
Which way did it go?
But once, shame, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on
Shame on me.
me.
Yeah,
Because
there
I
it
should have
goes.
known better.
I blocked that out of my, memory.
Mhm. And I think another thing about treating it like a business is like there's money involved in music.
Hmm.
And like I've played in bands where the singer was too shy to go and ask for our cut of the door, even though we filled the place
Yeah.
because he wasn't able to treat it like a business. Um, and we
No,
didn't get
it's
very far.
yeah. In the last band that I was in, um, everybody's pretty much even, just being the singer. I was also playing guitar, but they were looking to me to like do everything and also like negotiate and be the person that talks, cuts and stuff. And I was like, I'm not the kind of person that does that, and I'm not really that great at it. I mean, I may come off as someone that's as charismatic, but that those situations are super high stress for me. Like I'm really not good at negotiating things such as pay and whatnot. And it always
Yeah.
feels like, at least in the scene down here, like if you kind of either put the wrong price out or like if something happens, like you can completely like be cut out completely. So it's very much it always felt like a high stakes kind of thing of like what you say or what you don't.
Yeah, and I think again, I think uh the biggest thing I want people to take away from this is that in a band, you need to manage expectations with each
Yeah.
other as soon and as often as possible because exactly like that. If they were just assuming that you would take on those
Yeah.
responsibilities because you were the singer, it's good to sit down and be like, "Hey, here are the responsibilities I'm cool with, but here are the things I'm really not. Can somebody else pick this up?" And if people don't want to like
No, I
pull their
try.
weight, then maybe they shouldn't be in a
Yeah, that
band,
that was
you
the
know?
thing. Like, I was trying to obviously have everyone on the same page always. Like, I try to be as structured as possible. And it just came a point where, I was doing the marketing as well and trying to do things. And it was like, okay, you're asking me to do everything. And then when you are saying that I'm trying to take control of everything and I give you something in which you can have control of here, like do the recordings of what we're doing. And again, afterwards, send it to me so then we can all be on the same page. And then they don't do it. It felt like at
Yeah.
times they were doing things intentionally, like
Mhm.
to cause strife at times. And I was just like, I'm too old for this.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the
Yeah.
things where, like, yeah, if you treat it as a business, you're like, "I quit."
Yeah, at that
Eh,
point, it's like, this is too much work, and I'm doing everything. And when I try to give something to someone else, like, okay, like here, like you can do this, like I'm not controlling of it. Okay, go ahead, here's your shot. Like, and then they
yeah.
don't. Like, it's like, okay, this is
Okay,
messing
well,
up what we're trying to do and work in tandem. Like, you have to be a team, and if you
yeah,
don't, then the wheels start to come off, and then yeah, it's
yeah.
not helpful.
And I think the last thing I wanna say about this is another
Hmm.
reason you should, I think, treat your band a little bit more like a business. You probably shouldn't date people in your band.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I know that it works
No,
sometimes, that for every, like, Matt and Kim, there's a White Stripes or, like, 5 of them. Like, there's
no.
a reason the Fleetwood Mac story is so, so famous, and does it work for some people?
Yeah, some
Absolutely.
people it does, but historically,
Yeah. And I'm
no.
like, I mean, and I'm excited for my husband to
Yeah.
fill in
Fill in,
for a
not yeah.
gig. I don't think either of us wants him to be in a band full time. The same
No,
band full time. But at the same time, if Rick and I wanted to start a creative project together, that's something where we'd have to make sure we kind of separate it from our marriage. I would love
of
to start
course.
making music with my husband, but we would need to make sure it was separate because music is you get feelings. Feelings happen in like what you're creating, and sometimes feedback is really hard to take, especially at
Yep.
the top.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe there's a reason that married people in a lot of companies are not permitted to work in like the same department.
Yes.
There's a reason you have to declare to management if you're dating someone else at your company,
Hmm.
and there's a good chance they might want to separate you. Just let's be honest,
Yeah.
marital and relationship issues can bleed into everything. And
Yeah.
that's just not
No,
it's not worth it.
No, I can agree on that aspect as well. Because again, like you were saying with Rick, even though both myself and my partner Carlos are both within the same field, we have different focuses on what
Mhm.
we do, and I mostly do all this demo stuff and music thing by myself. Because like anytime we do work on anything together, we end up butting heads more so
Yeah.
than working together per se. So yeah, it was just added stress. Like, because I think it was yesterday, there was something that he was working on and he was asking me about a color. And I was like, well, I'm kind of partially colorblind. So the color that he chose was like lavender, but like I saw more gray than like the purple that was there. And then we started to get into a heated discussion over what I could see and what he could see.
Rick
And
and I've
yeah,
had
when
that
you care
argument.
about something that you've worked on for hours and the first response is someone like, that's not purple. What do you mean it's not purple? And then, yeah, just go down from there.
Yeah. And I do just want to reiterate, yes, this works for some people.
Yeah,
Obviously,
some
it's
people
working
it
for like
does.
Emily and Russ. Obviously, it's working great for them.
Perfect. Yeah.
There are some other people I know who like occasionally work with their partners, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, and you're going to make your own choices, but you definitely need to be aware of the risks, and
Yes,
you need
there are
to
risks.
make sure that you can set some ground rules and that you can
Hmm.
respect them.
Yeah,
I
of
don't
course,
know
as
how
long
to
as there's
completely say this,
respect.
but yeah,
Yeah.
respect and communication. I mean, that's key in any relationship. And stop.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I got
And
you.
that's just
The
relationship advice.
unsolicited.
I've been married for 8 years today. God damn it! It's my fucking anniversary today, October 4th.
Congratulations. You've made it
Thank
this
you.
far. I always tell that to Carlos. Congratulations. You've made it almost what? Almost 12 years now? Almost.
You guys have been together for 12 years.
In February it'll be 12.
Rick and I will have been together for 11 years in November.
Okay, you're a year behind. Yeah.
I'm just
Oh,
a
good
year
job.
behind,
Golf clap. Good job.
I'm 33. God, sometimes I forget how like young I was when I met Rick.
Oh.
That's okay. All right, let's
Babies.
stop that ring off that finger. Uh,
All right, the next one I will go to is, and I think this was one of the ones in the comments that you went back and forth with one person about the definition of, being yourself and don't be yourself or try to sound like anyone. If you aren't as good as, X player, then you aren't good at guitar, like that kind of advice.
so was this the guy who said that like bad advice is to uh wait, I'm confused about what he's I'm confused if he
Hold on,
said
I'll
that
bring it up. Hold
yeah,
on, let me see if
was
I can bring it
trying
up because
I
I
think he said
screenshotted.
try to be your own guitarist. Do not focus on trying to emulate people is what he said is
All
right.
right,
The
so
bad advice is don't just fuss around with your own thing. Try to emulate the greats first. Is that
I'll read you I'll read you
confused?
as it transpired. So, all right. So,
I'll go turn it on.
just be yourself or don't try to sound like X. The only reason anyone plays guitar is because they heard someone else play something cool on guitar. That was the
Oh,
original
so
comment.
so he is saying you should not focus on I guess what he's saying is it's bad advice to tell people to I really don't know what's
All
happening
right,
anymore.
I'll
I need
continue
you to
reading. What you said afterward was, on the one hand, yes, but I still think it's good to find your own voice, unless you're happy, just playing songs
Right,
by your
okay.
favorites.
Alright. I think that there are just so many words in that first comment
There
that
was, yeah. It's all right. We
so
we we sort through it here.
so the advice is to just be yourself, and he's saying that's bad advice.
Hmm.
That is kind of what I hear, and his reasoning is
Hmm.
that everyone plays guitar because they wanna emulate somebody or heard someone play something cool. Frankly, I started playing guitar because my mom's best friend's husband played guitar, and I thought that was cool,
No.
but
Yeah.
I'm not
Play
gonna
be him.
idolize Scott
Yeah.
Hammond, no.
I know.
And I definitely think that to develop your own voice, you need to learn the basics from other
Hmm. Of
people most of the
course.
time. Like, listen, guys, I know there are exceptions to this. I know that there are savants who just pick up a guitar and they can do
Those
whatever
are
with it.
outliers, though, really.
For most people, I think I on like I agree with him in that I think that if you are so focused on doing your own thing, you're going to miss a lot of basics and you're going to miss a lot of potential influences. So yeah, I agree that you should absolutely sit down and learn songs,
Hmm.
ideally note for note, that you like and want to kind of sound like. But at the same time, I don't really think most guitarists sit down and say, I only want to play like Santana. I only want to play like
No.
Eddie Van Halen. I only want to play like John Mayer. I think naturally everybody does want to find their own voice, and in
Yeah.
their writing, hopefully does.
Yeah, I think that when you're playing other people's music, it's not like you're going to become them because they are their unique own artists or musicians themselves. When we had, you think about Renaissance painters or anybody that painted, part of their training was to emulate or to paint exactly like the people that they aspired to. Yet
Mhm.
yes, they learned the things that they needed to do by doing that, but then when they were painting in their own style, there were some influences by the people that they studied, but all in all, they ended up finding their own style and becoming an artist in their own means. And I think that still applies also with music. I may like certain bands, like, of course, like Ghost or like Thunder Pussy or like other groups of which I don't play music myself like that, but I do have some influences where there's certain maybe effects pedals that I know that they probably use that sound similar, and I like to use some of them on my board, but I may not use it the same way. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, everybody who listens to this podcast by now probably knows that I really like Prince. Um,
Yes.
my playing isn't like Prince. I do sit down and I learn those solos and I learn some of those songs and those chords, and those influences do sneak into what I compose quite
Mhm.
often. But for as much as I've played of that, it's still my voice. And um I think that the ultimate goal for most guitarists really should be finding your own voice, but
Mm.
knowing it's not going to just happen because
No.
you are ignoring other things. Like I think about this girl I went to high school with, and we were in this poetry club together, and she literally didn't want her poetry to rhyme ever because she thought it was cliched, so she wanted to come up with something completely new. I'm like, "I don't know, girl. I think you
Mm.
gotta start with some couplets."
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a reason that, like, a lot of the
People
best
do things,
poets
yeah.
and, a lot of poetry doesn't rhyme at all, and that's great, that's fine. But
That's
maybe
fine.
that's not it's harder, I think, to write, so maybe you start with something a little bit easier.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when it comes to poetry, like myself, I tend to like the ones that rhyme. And when I'm writing, I tend to like to choose words that rhyme. But there's other people that just like, you don't have to. You can write whatever, and you don't even have to rhyme. And I was like, yeah, that's
Very
them.
free form, yeah.
But
Just
yeah,
playing
very free
poetry.
form, very like, spoken word at times also like in some music. And I was like, that's cool. I can appreciate it, but it's not me. I like to kind of tie things together with each line and have some kind of like subtext.
Yeah, it almost gives it more closure in ways too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's just like I think that's the theme with all of these
Hmm.
is like and then we said this last episode, so the
Yeah.
truth lies in the middle.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
again in any kind of conversation that we've gone to, like, yeah, there's a little bit of truth in it, but overall, I mean, it could go either way. All
Mhm.
right. So the last one that I have, and this was also from Topa FX, and they were told this: lose weight, have someone better looking in your band, make your bandmates cut their hair or wear certain clothes to meet an aesthetic look in order to, I guess, make it or be noticed.
You gotta look hot to play music. Did you know? Did you know? It is gonna make you're gonna be easier to sign if you're attractive,
Of course, yes.
but you don't need to. You
No.
don't need to be those
You
things.
you have permission to go play music and do things. You have
Yeah.
permission.
You have permission to not be skinny and play music. There's more than one musician who's not
Yeah,
skinny.
and
I mean,
doing fine.
I know Adele lost a lot of weight, but
Yeah.
she had so much success before she lost that weight.
Mhm.
It wasn't really a hindrance to the fact that her music was astounding. There are a lot of Black women, especially, who don't have like a traditional Victoria's Secret model
No,
body, and
no.
they have a lot of success. They're still
No,
hot.
exactly. I mean, Lizzo's beautiful. I mean, that's
Lizzo is beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, Lizzo's a perfect
Yes.
example. I don't know how that one didn't
That's what I'm here for.
hit me. Yeah. So it's like, is it easier? Probably, but it's like sometimes you will need to work harder and be better
Yeah.
if you don't have that, frankly, crutch to succeed on.
Mm.
And the thing is, like, most people are attractive enough. And that's maybe a weird thing to
I
say,
think it's
but
subjective too, though. Like,
yeah,
obviously, you have Hollywood's idea of what is, or whoever obviously is writing the checks in music, like whatever I guess they think is. But again, it's subjective. I mean, what some people may find attractive, like to me, just isn't. But I'm not the mass
a lot
amounts
of
of people.
people don't like Rihanna's because they think her forehead's too big, which is
Oh
insane.
my
She's
God.
really hot. But, I also
No, she's
think
beautiful.
that your attraction to people grows depending on how you perceive them in general. Like,
Yeah.
you may not think someone is super hot when you first meet them, but then as you get to know them, you think that they're beautiful. And this
Hmm.
happens like a lot, honestly. Like, attraction isn't like I think you're attractive and stuff. Someone can be like categorically attractive, but if they have a garbage
They're
personality,
yeah, if
they're
they're
not
like, a wall of personality, like a white wall, like that's not gonna happen.
yeah, in the end, I think that most people and who, like, I think of when I think about music,
Hmm.
they are some level of attractive just naturally, maybe it's just because they're younger or
Yeah.
whatever, but, it's not the most important part of music. It
No.
really isn't.
No, it's not.
No. I would never tell somebody to lose weight
No, I would yeah,
or
no.
get plastic surgery or
Nope.
change their hair. In music, give me a fucking break. It's not the most important thing. If your music is phenomenal, you can look like Lyle Lovett. No one thinks Lyle Lovett is hot traditionally. No, but he married Julia Roberts.
I mean, sometimes it's just having a good sense of humor and being charismatic. I mean, that can go a long way too.
I mean, like, yeah, being
Yeah.
charismatic. I don't think Brad Paisley is traditionally hot. And the reason he got his break is because, frankly, he was such a nice guy. Like, he was doing the thing as a songwriter. He was such a nice guy. People thought, give him a shot on the
Yeah.
front of the stage. And he did. Yeah, look at him. Look at him now. He's very famous.
Look at me now.
And he's again, I don't for the record, I don't think my co-alumnus, Brad Paisley, is unattractive, but he's not as traditionally as attractive as somebody who can maybe be successful on less talent. I'm not going to name names in that genre,
No.
but there are singers in his genre with whom he has been nominated for the same awards who have a range of like 1.5 octaves and sing like Muppets. If you know
God.
who I'm talking about, you know who I'm
Oh
talking
my
about.
Kermit Frog here.
Yeah. So that's where it is for me. People will tell you it's more important than it is, and they're just wrong. And
No,
again, it's
no,
not
I can.
unimportant. You look at so many of these band photographs, by the way, of these big bands, and
Yeah.
maybe the singer is hot because the singer works on themselves more. You look at the other people in the band, and you're like, huh, I've never really noticed them before. They're maybe not as hot. I don't know. Is Chad Kroger hot? I don't know. Let me look at Nickelback pictures.
Oh my God. Look at this
They
photograph.
they're a very famous band, and if you look at them, like, they have a certain like, especially early on, he just had a
Hmm.
certain look, like, a beard can hide a lot on a man's face.
Oh
The
yeah.
rest, like, I find them to be very average-looking men, and I don't and that's not a dig. They're just not, like,
Yeah, I
they're
mean
not
the music is more like what's important, to be honest.
it is, and their music connected with people. Uh, I'm sure women very much love him. He's not
Notably.
everyone's cup of tea, like, but that's the thing, guys. They always say guys go for looks and girls go for status. But, yeah, shitty advice. Thank you,
Yeah,
Tulpa,
that
for
was yeah.
providing a black and white that was bad.
Very, very bad.
And just,
But yeah,
yeah.
that was definitely one of the ones I think was worse. That's why I saved it for the end. I was like, that's definitely a bad one.
Yeah. Ugh. Sorry, I just saw a message about something that we talked about on the podcast a long time ago
Oh
that I didn't know
no.
was still a thing. It's okay, don't worry about it.
Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah. So, I wish we had let me see if there's any more of that
Yeah,
bad
see.
advice
Yeah, see if you
that
see
maybe we
any other
missed.
kind of bad.
Mute.
There was another one that someone said. I
Go
guess
to Full Sail in Florida to learn the music
oh yeah, I
business.
saw someone did that and I was like, "Ah, you went full knowing the cost, I guess, of that full sale." And I was just like, "Yeah, that probably was a bad idea."
I don't know Full Sail for the music business program. I mean, I studied music business in college
Mm.
at Belmont, which is a renowned program, and I even think maybe not the best choice I made in my life. Oh, start on acoustic, not electric.
Oh,
I
yes.
hate that.
Yes. Yes,
Stop
I
it.
agree with that.
I don't know why we start kids on acoustic guitars. They're harder to play and they're not as fun.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
plus, you can plug an electric guitar into a headphone amp, and the parents don't have to hear the kid anymore.
no, of course. And again, like I started on an acoustic instrument and I found that when I was evolving into playing an electric, it is definitely not the same. It's like almost like I had to start over in some ways again and learning a completely different way of playing over how I played the acoustic. It was interesting.
It's extremely different.
Mhm.
If you want, I think most people should probably learn both,
Mhm.
but, I feel like we do kids a big disservice by
Yeah.
starting them on acoustic instruments. It hurts more. The strings are thicker than they can be
And then
on
quitting, yeah. Mhm.
and in classical guitar, like, most kids they don't play guitar because they want to play, like, flamenco style. Maybe like, I think the best teachers will have a first-time student and be like, "What do you wanna learn today? You
Yeah.
wanna learn a let's leave this lesson learning a song that you like." And that's what's gonna hook kids.
Yeah. No, I agree. If they're going to spend hours on something, it's going to be something that they enjoy listening to and can listen to over and over and over and over again while they're learning it. Whereas they're listening to some piece that they don't have a connection to, and they're
Yeah,
like, why am I learning? They don't have enthusiasm for it. They're
yeah.
definitely going to not be as into it and end up, well, dropping the habit.
Yeah, I mean, can we stop making kids learn green sleeves for the love of
Oh,
God?
God.
Oh my god. Like, I get it's probably got some important lessons, but if you can't find those lessons that you can learn from Greensleeves from something else, you're probably just not a good teacher. Sorry.
Mm.
But, yeah, I mean, it's guitar didn't click for me, and it wouldn't have been exciting to me if I hadn't been able to quickly learn some Third Eye Blind songs. 'Cause I really liked that band when I was 10, when I started
Yeah.
playing guitar, and so that I could learn how to play Jumper
Yep.
and a couple other songs, like, immediately. You know, songs I didn't have the context to lyrically.
No, no, no. I mean, like
Um,
you hear them now, and you're like, "Hey, step up on that ledge,
yes,
my
my
friend. You
friend,
could cut ties with all the light."
love,
I was
and
like
even
hearing it now,
still
and I'm just like, "Wow,
wow.
I'm getting the subtext a little bit more in my older years now."
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's definitely about an unaliving event.
Yes, it is.
As the kids say on TikTok.
It was so catchy at the time when I was a
Oh, it's a
kid.
very catchy song, let's be real.
Oh
Third Eye
yeah.
Blind wrote some really great songs, even if Stephen Jenkins is a not nice person.
Oh,
No one owes anybody else to be a nice person, I guess, but
no.
still, you can try. Um, you should try to work in an industry you're passionate about is
Mm,
bad advice.
mm.
You know, my day job is tangential to the music industry, probably more so than tangential. Like, I do copywriting for MI brands and pro and consumer audio. I love it. You know what? It's a lot better than writing about palazzo pants, how to grill hot dogs,
Oh my god.
and so I wrote how to wear palazzo pants, how to grill hot dogs. I wrote for an insurance for CPA company. I wrote for a conference calling company. I that was so boring. Like, I learned a lot of random stuff, but it was so boring.
So next time I go to a grilling event, I should ask you about hot dogs.
I don't know who's Googling how to grill hot dogs, but apparently more than
Who
like
doesn't
500
know at
people a
this
month.
point?
I can pull it up right now, but I'm not going to.
No, don't.
Uh, yeah, no, I wrote
No.
that. Now I get to write, stuff that's actually interesting to me, and it makes a really big difference.
No, it does.
At the same time, the music industry especially is tough because it's so passion driven that people will, at least starting out, work for nothing.
Yeah.
Very little money. Like, I knew in 2011 someone who worked for an artist agency. I think she was paid like $28,000 a year, 23, something very low. I was
Mm.
paid $33,000 a year starting out in live event marketing
Okay.
in 2011. And it was a struggle to survive on that amount of money back then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
sure
agree.
that has
Even
risen.
even for me, yeah. Like I think when I worked at a corporate office in 2007, I think I was at about 32 at that point. And of course, my career is in what art and what I'm passionate about. So again, still for me paying bills and everything, like that was not even at those times great to survive on.
No, I once got the advice that the thing about the music industry and like going into the business side of it is you struggle for 10 years and then you suddenly get an enormous pay increase and status increase. You know what? I don't believe them.
And
It's not true.
well, anybody who's watching, I'm just gonna do the Travolta.
Yeah. Yeah.
where, where
I mean, I've gone years without raises in the music business and live events.
Yeah, I've had
And
situations where I've asked for a raise and then I've gotten consequences for asking for said raise, and then my
yeah.
employer then obviously treated me different because I asked.
Yeah, I mean, I remember asking for a flex day the weekend after working an event. So
Hmm.
I was non exempt, so I was salaried.
Yep, I know what that's
And
like. Yep.
so I flew to an event on like a Wednesday and worked the whole weekend. And I think I
Mhm.
flew back Monday morning or
Yeah.
Sunday night. And I asked my boss if I could get a flex day just to like
Decompress.
because it was
Yeah.
too much work because
Yeah.
essentially I worked 2 weeks without a day off. And he said, "No, because that's fun work." It's like fun work. I fucking got punched trackside by a photographer for blocking his shot. What was
Holy
fucking fun
fucking
about that?
shit. Fuck
It
you,
was
dude.
90 it
Yeah.
was 90 degrees outside. My ears are still ringing from the F1 cars. I got food poisoning at X Games. I
Holy
spent I
shit.
was responding to angry tweets from people who were being told they weren't allowed to bring in breast milk to X Games while I'm just like barfing in the toilet at the press center.
Oh
What
my
fun!
god.
All the while I'm trying to like unstress the woman I'm working with because she's about to go
Holy
off the
shit.
handle on people on
Holy
social
shit.
media. So I'm like talking to her, trying to calm her down, run to
Yeah.
the bathroom, having food poisoning,
Oh
then
my
like going
god.
outside and capturing pictures of the event, coming back, uploading them, working until literally midnight or later. And showing up at 5 a.m.
Oh
Like
my
they gave me one
god.
shirt for the weekend, and I would have to. It would get so sweaty. I would try to like I'd wear it in the fucking shower,
Holy shit,
and
just to wash it? Holy
yeah,
shit.
it was so
Oh my
gross.
god, you poor thing.
Wring it out and like blow
Put it back
dry it.
on, back to go
But
back.
I
Back
know
into the gauntlet.
it's
Go
like
right back.
fun. And now now I would be like, that's wage theft, right?
Yeah, that's pretty toxic business practices right there. You
Yeah.
poor kid.
Remember that right to work states plus non exempt does not mean that they can work you for 60 hours a week
Yeah.
without like paying you more. So check on the workers' rights in your state. If you are being told that even though you worked all weekend, you cannot have a flex day, that's probably illegal, and I bet the state would love to hear about it.
Don't work in Florida.
I was in Tennessee, so I can't imagine it was a ton better. But I later looked it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm
Oh
actually
yeah.
shocked that was illegal.
Yeah, there's so much illegal in Florida. Like, not only is like the salary the lowest, but like also like all the like toxic shit that goes on. So yeah, I mean, we could make our own podcast out of that. I
Yeah,
could write my book with all the shit I've seen and gone through.
yeah. So I mean, I guess getting back to that, the bad advice is if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's what I think about when I think about that
Mm,
because um that's wrong. It's just wrong. And then all you're
no,
doing, then what you like to do turns into just your job, and that isn't always fun. Some people
no,
like it, but
yeah.
sometimes you just want to sometimes you want your hobby to be your hobby.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, for me, on my end, because essentially I am the person that they're speaking on that did. I was always very good at drawing and very good at art.
Mhm.
So, therefore, that's what I did as my career. And obviously, all through the difficulties of choosing that path, it's very difficult the fact that you're working and doing things for your employer and what they want and what they obviously think is more important than what you have, and people don't listen. And it's very frustrating when your passion is your job because you care too much,
Yeah.
and then it can take all the joy out of it. And I even had a point in which I tried to get out of graphics and go in a completely different field. I even went back to school at one point to try to go into like either physical therapy or something else where I felt like I could help people versus just trying to fucking sell products. Like,
Yeah.
I hated, what I was doing and what it was going towards. I didn't feel like I was making a difference. I was at that point in my life where, where you get to a point where like, I want to
Yeah.
do something that makes a difference.
Yeah.
um but
I remember
yeah, it
that.
just got to the point where now it's like, you know what? That's of course with my demo channel. I'm now using something that I'm doing for myself and what I know and love. And I'm using it for that rather than getting burnt out doing it for my client. That work is separate, but that's what I said. You can get burnt out. You can eventually become bitter and hate the thing that you love and then hate staring at a screen all day. So therefore when you come
Yeah.
home, yeah, like it's hard to then go back and stare at a screen, like we're talking about the plugins and things like that. Like it becomes hard to then go into your hobbies because if it's
Yeah.
an extension of something you already do as a job, it's incredibly difficult to still maintain passion and to not, yeah, kind of lose it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's all so true, and I think it's just important to know the risks.
Mhm.
Burnout of the thing you love is a big
Yep.
risk. Losing all of the mystery surrounding the thing you love is kind of another risk. After you've worked festivals for a long time, you're like kind of constantly looking at the
Ugh.
background and what the vendors are doing and
Yeah.
all of that. And you're kind of making judgments based on it, even if you're trying not to. It's like if you work in a restaurant, you kind of notice you're more sympathetic to, but you kind of notice bad service a little bit more. Or like,
Mhm.
oh, you're not supposed to do that like that kind of thing. So that's
Yeah,
another
I
thing to
notice
keep in
things
mind.
too, yeah. Like,
Yeah,
I'll notice things about either logos or, like, in any kind of marketing stuff that I'll see that's been printed or done in a certain way, or even sometimes with
copy.
videos, and I was like, I kinda know what kinda happened when I see something kind of is off or something happened where something went out when it shouldn't. I was like, "Oh, I wonder what the client did that angered that
Oh,
person that was
yeah,
making
that's
that." Yeah.
when I see an email that goes out with, like, the, like, merge text doesn't work. So, when you write an
Yeah.
email, for those who don't know,
Mhm.
if you ever get an email that has, like, your first name in it, it's
Mhm.
because there's something called merge text where they put in a snippet of code that's probably, like, it's probably colon, tall slash, F name, tall slash colon,
Mhm.
and, if their database is incorrect or they put the code in wrong and they didn't put up a backup, it's that's why it spits back weird characters sometimes. So whenever I see
God.
that or like an email that says
Yeah.
correct link in it, I'm like, "Oh my
No.
god."
Or
I
like a
would have been
second
yelled
email
at.
or a third email, and you're just like, "No."
I'm like, "I hope you didn't get yelled at too bad for that." I really do, because like,
Mm.
I'm sympathetic. Mistakes happen.
No, yeah.
Bad writing, I notice a lot more. Um,
Yeah, and also
I
I know
notice
when it
yeah.
comes to some kind of, like, graphic like you said, like, when an email or something goes out, sometimes it's actually you're trying to do the best you can, but your client is coming back with so many last-minute requests that it becomes overwhelming to try to either get them all or, like, there's a deadline and everything's crammed a lot and things can squeak through. So, yeah, I understand how that can
Yeah.
happen. So I was like, "Oh, something happened there." Poor yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I feel
I remember once, like, we were working with someone else to do this big graphic heavy email that still would
Mhm.
work with if you had images turned off. I don't know
Yeah.
why we felt the need to, like, make it a big graphic. It was
Hmm.
stupid, and I really implore people to not do that.
Don't do that.
But we
Don't
kept
do that.
sending, like, edits back to the people who, like, were creating the image for us, like, "There's a copy error there, there's a copy error there." And it just there was one copy error. They spelled someone very important's name wrong, and we sent it back 3 times, but there were so
Yeah.
many revisions in sending back that eventually, like, it was okay in the next one, it was okay in the next one. And the last one they sent to us, like, "Oh, they must have gotten everything because we were only looking for the changes
The
from that
change,
last
yeah.
round of revisions."
Exactly, not
They had
previous.
they had reverted back to his name being spelled wrong. It went out to 80,000 people. One
Oh
of the
my
most famous drivers in the sport, his name was spelled wrong. He was it was
mm.
he was mad, and so
Oh, I
everyone
would
was
be,
mad.
yeah. Like,
I was
that's why
shocked
I
we didn't
said
get fired as an agency for it, but it's one of those things, like, 10
that
people
can
see it
happen,
and
yeah. That's why I
10
said when
people.
it's last minute, yeah, and when it's going back and forth like that, then, "Oh, go back to another revision," and then something can be misspelled. Yeah, no, I've been in the room when those type of things have happened, and they can happen, and oh my god, yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah. Um, the last bad advice I want to talk about is, 90% of the advice on TikTok is bad. You know what? Probably.
Is
And
that
this is
with or
gonna be
without
on me
lip
too.
syncing?
Oof, yeah. So everybody out there, thank you for sending those in. Would love to do something like that again. If you have other
Yeah, it was great.
ideas of things you'd like us to crowdsource, let us know and comment on the video or something if you're watching on YouTube, um, or drop a comment on Instagram or something. But yeah, please subscribe on wherever you are watching or listening to this. Um, like it, comment on it if you can. Leave a review on iTunes, please. That really
That would be
helps
great.
more than you would believe. It helps more than a lot of things. We have merch at getoffsetpodcast.com/shop. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/getoffset. Link in video description. If you pay at least $5 a month, you get access to our exclusive Discord server. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything? I'm not going to say your line
Um,
this time.
yeah, I was about to say it. I was like, "Don't you dare say it this time." Well,
Sorry.
and like I said last time, anybody that wants to sponsor the podcast, if you want
I
to
was
plug in
gonna
your
say.
product or do anything in particular regarding that kind of form, I am very creative. So, I mean, I would very much probably like to do some sort of situation in which I'm creating scenarios in which your product or thing may come in handy in someone's dire need, and they will think of you, hopefully, in those times because of said sponsored moment that we may have if you happen to take the risk and invest in us.
I love it. Well, yeah, to everyone out there, thanks for either watching or listening.
Thanks for understanding.
Until next time, my name is Emily.
I'm Joan of Arc.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.